are back with another episode of Average Sports with Average Guys. I'm Ty, that's Erica on the other line. Hey there, Eric.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you doing today, Ty?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Hanging in there, man. It's a beautiful day. It's another wonderful day in the sporting world, and that's what we're going to bring you guys today.
That's
we're
right.
We're going to talk a bunch of stuff here. We're going to do some recaps on where we're at. We got a great topic, an early fantasy football strategy topic for you today. We're going to go over the MLB All-Star standings because it's new this year, but there's some things that we're not talking about, Ty. What are we not talking about?
Well, one thing I'm not talking about, I saw Booty Scootin' Cam Newton not getting his seat on the airplane, whatever that's about. Moving on. Worst problem.
The dude's like 8 feet tall, man. He needs the extra space.
Yeah, he should have caught his first flight.
I don't know. I feel like I want to talk about that first.
Do you? All right. Well, maybe put it in your back pocket. If we have extra time. If we have extra time, Eric.
Just really quick. Would you take the money?
Yeah, probably. But that's me.
Would you? Okay, that's all we need to say.
Anyway,
yeah,
what are you not talking about?
Oh man, we're not talking about NBA free agency. It's just a muddled mess of everything with, Kyrie hating Boston and, wanting to go somewhere else. Kawhi Leonard going, out west. It's just a whole mess. So we'll leave that for another time, another day, and we'll catch up then. So we're moving on to our weekly recap. Ty, what did you see this week?
I saw Pujols come into town. I didn't see him personally, but I spoke to some people.
That was pretty great, wasn't it?
That series, yeah, I thought that was, and that was where we left off the last episode was of a game for me, for anyone to watch. I mean, just to see the legend, the myth, the man, Albert coming back into St. Louis to show his stuff. So that was a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, I would agree. It was pretty great. And, I watched all 3 games, and I thought they did a pretty great job of coverage for all of it. So great job for everyone that got an opportunity to see it, and good job for Pujols. He had a home run in that as well, too. Did you watch any the World Cup?
I saw some World Cup. Women are moving on to the next round, going against France, which is another...
I know. That's a big-time matchup.
Yeah, and France took over Brazil, cleaned the host nation 2-1. So that was pretty cool to see. And yeah, so they're in it, and we have an excellent matchup, and actually several of these matchups into the quarterfinals: Norway and England, Italy, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden. So we'll talk about that, I think, at the end too, to throw out maybe a best matchup on what to watch. Otherwise, as far as recaps go, we got College World Series going on. You been watching some of that?
Actually, I've been checking in every now and then. I did watch a fair bit of the game last night. Vanderbilt and Michigan, they're in the finals. Michigan won the game last night. They looked pretty dominant early throughout the game, and Vanderbilt came back and won the game today. So they will go to a final game, winner takes all, tomorrow night. Michigan and Vanderbilt. And, Vanderbilt's a powerhouse in college baseball, and Michigan not so much. And Michigan was one of the last 4 teams in, and, they've made it all the way to within 1 game of the College World Series. So we'll see if that works out for them. Good luck to the Wolverines, and, maybe not as much to Vanderbilt because they're always there. But, still, Same for them. Good luck to them.
You have to enjoy an underdog story. I also saw the series, caught a little bit of the Yankees and Tampa Bay Rays series about, I think, what was that, 5-6 days ago. Pretty good stuff. I think that is truly a preview of a potential, like a wild card and, a division series for the playoffs coming ahead to us. So I would keep an eye on that. So yeah, it was good, like mid-season kind of playoff picture.
I like the way you think there.
A little teaser. Let's jump into our topic, though. Eric, let's move it along here on this episode. You are excited about this topic, probably more so than I am, to be honest. I am what you would call maybe
this topic.
Yeah, of course. It's fantasy football, and I think call myself a procrastinator when it comes to understanding anything on the landscape of fantasy football. But you, my friend, know some stuff. So bestow us upon your knowledge, your eternal wealth of, your football prowess. Educate us, Eric. What's happening?
Handoff there, Ty. Yeah. I really appreciate that. That was fantastic.
Okay. So where are you in the strategy of how are you going to build your plan coming into next fantasy season?
Yeah, I think there's, it's very early right now. Most people are not doing drafts right now unless they're doing some sort of dynasty startup. Dynasty startups have traditionally either already happened or they're happening at this point. But the more traditional redraft leagues are typically what we'll be talking strategy on as far as, either right now or moving forward. And there are still some important things to know about, strategy at this point and, making sure that you, if you play every year and you're an avid fantasy football player, you should at least have some sort of strategy kind of going on throughout the year. Some at the end of the year is always to remember, hey, what are the things that I want to remember going into next year that maybe hurt me? One of the big ones is hamstring injuries. A lot of people really ignore those ones, but those injuries in particular linger like so long, and those players are never really kind of recovering from them, and it takes a very long time. That's one of those things that I like to remember as well too. When I'm either going into the draft or when I'm in the middle of the season, that I try and remember.
Is there anyone in particular? Yeah. At this point in time,
as far as like a specific hamstring injury, no. I was just more calling that out as one that really kind of shows its ugly head all the time. Dalvin Cook was a great hamstring injury guy last year, where he injured it really quickly. First couple of weeks of the season, then he was gone for most of the season. Then he came back, didn't look great. Next couple of weeks looked terrible, and then he finished the season fantastic. But if that's someone that you drafted, Dalvin Cook, and to hold on to him through a hamstring injury, you were probably like cussing up a storm, because he sunk your team if you drafted Dalvin Cook last year. Sure. There were some people that probably picked him up off of waivers. I actually saw him in all of my leagues on waivers. At a certain point throughout the league, and up at the end benefited. But if you drafted Dalvin Cook, you got crushed because you sunk it into a hamstring injury. But more or less at this point, it does kind of lead me into it that's important as well too, is how are guys, especially hype guys, how are they recovering from injury? Or is there any off-season or off-the-field things that you need to know or make sure that you're keeping tabs on, so that when the season comes around, you're not a prisoner of the moment in the 2 minutes that you're on the clock, or 3 minutes, whatever.
Right, you're not just relying on what names have been successful, and you're just taking unnecessary risks. So what's your take then on what particular details are you looking for in certain players or just teams in general?
So I think one of the things that's really important to know is ignore coaches. Ignore head coaches. They're not there to give you the information that you want. If you want some good information, look at your position coaches, see if they're saying anything. But beat writers are going to give you the information that you want. In particular when it comes to injuries. So Todd Gurley, number 1 pick overall last year, he's not going to be at the top, and that's going to be one of those players that I personally am going to avoid based on the way that he finished the season. The news has not been coming out very positive for him about how he's recovering. Look at then the trends of what the Rams are doing as well too, what they did in the draft. They went and then drafted another running back on top of that. So they still have Malcolm Brown on the payroll. They did let C.J. Anderson go in lieu of keeping Malcolm Brown. And then they went ahead and spent I think a 3rd-round draft pick on a running back. So they spent decent capital on bringing in a new player. That's concerning. Okay. That's concerning for me. It's just something that doesn't mean that I'm going to completely take Todd Gurley off my board, but it's certainly something that I'm going to be aware of as we move through the process here for that. So, pay attention to how he's doing with that. He's already not going to play in the preseason. This is what he's done in, many, many years in the past, is he won't play in preseason. So you're not going to get a chance to look at him. So you really have to pay attention to that news. And it's really important that you look at the beat writers and see how he's practicing and whatnot. So, don't ignore the fact that it's just June and fantasy football, may not be drafting until August, a couple months from now. Now is when they're in camps and they're playing or practicing. So it's important to pay attention to that.
Yeah, but it's so much more fun to just wait to the last minute.
It could be, and then you could be the person that's going to try and draft.
And then you get a Dalvin Cook.
In the second round.
Well, I might.
Yeah.
I might get a kicker and a defense all in my first 3 rounds.
Kicker. Yeah, you know what? That sounds like a great strategy. I hope I play you 14 times.
I've had some success in your league, Eric. I can do it. So my strategies are sometimes
you have had success in the league. But yes. I don't know that you've had success drafting kickers and defenses.
No, not at all. Not when you don't know what's happening and you let your phone do it for you. Let's get into the next segment on the Who You Got for our show. And on this Who You Got, we're turning things back over across the pond to France, where the Women's World Cup is still being held. And we're going to pick a final winner. Because why not? Because it has been full of drama. If you guys haven't been watching any of these games, highly recommend it. There are some there's a lot of raised eyebrows over the VR with that replay, and just on some of the calls. And yeah, it's soccer, or football, and it's going to not be without its drama. And this World Cup has proven as such. But still, some great goal scoring, some excellent play, and now that we have whittled it down to 8 teams, Eric, who you got for this World Cup?
I look at the 8 teams that are left, and you talked about them earlier, but Norway, England, France, U.S., Italy, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, just to do a quick recap there on the 8 that are left. The ones that stand out to me are some of the ones that have played very well, and there are 4 teams that are completely undefeated: France, USA, Netherlands, and Germany. I think one of those 4 teams could very much win it. If I still had to pick one, it's going to be the U.S. It's really hard to pick against them, although their matchup against France is incredibly tough. Not only are they playing a team that is also undefeated, just like they are, but they're playing them in France, and it's going to be a high-profile game. This is going to be a game that is very much looked at. The fans in France, the French fans, are very, very have very high expectations of their team. And it's going to be a tough match. If they can get through France, I think they have a good chance of being able to then make it to the final.
I don't know. You're looking at still having to face England and Norway, rather, because that's the other matchup in that segment or part of the bracket. So I think they're going to have a hard challenge. I agree with you with France. That is going to be their toughest challenge yet of the tournament, for sure. I think Spain was not a pushover by any means. U.S. had some great goals scored in that match, and Spain is a tough team. So, I mean, it's not going to be an easy road for them, and the fact that they did allow their first goal of the tournament shows somewhat of a weakness, right? I mean, everyone's had goals scored against them. It could be interesting. What I'd like to see, though, myself, is the U.S. and Sweden for another matchup. We saw them play in group play, and then back in the Olympics, Sweden upset the U.S. in the quarterfinals. So I think that'll be a good final matchup for the World Cup. Be some high-stakes drama there, and I think a lot of interested patrons, or what would you call it? Someone who watches. Yeah.
Hooligans?
Yes. Soccer hooligans. And
there you go.
You got it. And with that, we are onward and upwards with All-Stars out of the MLB. It is that time of year. I love this time of summer and the All-Star game. It's always just fun to watch. And now that there isn't really anything at stake like there used to be, I think that's actually kind of refreshing. We just get to go out there and play the game and enjoy it. And we have our finalists. So that's part of our Lightning standings, or the 2019 All-Stars of baseball, and who's in, who's out. And one thing I'm missing here, Eric, you know what it is? Yeah, let's get into it now. You want to take the AL? Why don't you